Hey, it's FX's and the BBC's attempt at a Christmas carol, and oh god, they're going to ruin it just like they ruin everything else. Shall we begin? And it's London 1843, which was quite a while ago, and it's 2 days before Christmas. And look, it's a graveyard, and here's a chav who calls that dead guy a bastard and then immediately pees on it. Ugh. I don't remember that in Dickens' writings, but you know what, we must carry on, because that pee has already seeped through the ground and is giving Marley a golden shower. And he's dead angry about that one and is shouting, "Why can't no one ever let me rest in peace?" So let's flip and we're inside of a church, where there is a noticeable lack of Panic at the Disco. And hey, it's Mr. Crapshit and his wife, and there's little boy Tinny Crapshit. And now Mrs. Crapshit is having a go at her simp husband for not standing up to his boss Mr. Scrooge to milk Christmas off. Now it's Christmas Eve, so that was actually quite a quick day, where Scrooge McBoogables is looking pretty grumpy. And he's also a right old stingy grunt, and he's counting out coal. And well, look who just rolled up through that door. It's Bob Cratchit, who's proper livid that there are only 3 coals on that fireplace. And Scrooge is like, I'm not going to give you any more than that. So he's like, it's going to be a really cold day. And then Scrooge says, you're now at work, you get to go home at 4, so pretty much after working a full day of work. And Bob ain't into that and says I thought you were going to let me go home early today because it's Christmas Eve. But Scrooge says, shut the duck up and get to work, you scrounging bastard. Well, that was interesting, so let's head over to Marley, who's chilling out in his grave saying, oh my god, I regret being a dick all my life. So if someone out there can let me have a really cool redemption arc, it will be really welcome right now. And it totally worked, because he gets yeeted into a forgery, where BBC man says, I used to work for you and I totally died to death because of it. So basically admitting he's crap at his job. And he also says loads of other people got totally deaded for working for him. And now that he's asking for penance for his sins, he will totally get that really cool redemption arc by immediately torturing him with chains and a horse. Well, that looks like legit fun actually, but sadly the ride is over and here's the crap in the box for reasons. Back to Scrooge, and he's saying to Bob, you wrote this letter really goodly. And Bob is like, if it's that good, maybe I'll get to go home early for Christmas. But Scrooge ain't into that and says, no, I want you to write a letter of complaint because I'm actually really annoyed right now about those people outside. And it's just let the guy go home early for once, man. You're really mean. So let's check in with Marley, where there's a fire in the distance. So better go run towards it. And oh my god, it's Angry Santa, who says, if you really actually feel bad about being a dick all your life, then I'll actually totally redeem you. But there is a catch though. You have to get Scroogey McBoogables to repent too, because you guys were totally into being evil together. And that doesn't make Marley happy, because he knows full well that Scrooge ain't cool. We've got to go now because someone just turned up at the old tight ass's crib. And it's his nephew, who says, stop being a little bitch and come over to my house tomorrow for Crimbo Din Dins. And obviously it's Jesus' birthday. But Scrooge says, shut the duck up, and then goes on a full tirade about how the Bible is totally a lie because, he's really edgy, thank you BBC. And that actually really did hurt little nephew man, who says, you know what, screw you, I'm not actually going to invite you anymore, I'm out of here. And strangely enough, we never see him again in this show, so what the hell was the point in this scene? Little nephew man's now gone, but something strange is happening at that fireplace, because 2 coins just fell out of it, which were the ones on Marley's eyes. And that has left Scroogey a little bit shook. So he tells Bob to piss off home, so he's all alone in the house. And then he looks out of a window. And then that book on the table just made a noise. And it says, prepare ye. And that's really scary. Something's going to happen. Scene transmission. And it's the Crapshit, where Mrs. Crapshit says, I've got a really big silly goose. And then Bob says, you know what? We need to go post a letter to some guy in America who funded the operation for Tinny Tim. Let's leave that one on a nail-biting cliffhanger and then go to Scrooge because Top Hat Tramp just asked for a money donation for poor people. But how Scrooge is going to pay some damn dirty socialists to sit on their asses and then walks off saying bar humbug. And that was great. I mean, that was awesome. So let's go back to the Crapshits where Tinny Tim is ice skating. And then Mama Crap says, Bob, you totally stay here and I'll go post that letter we mentioned earlier. And then walks off and then totally burns that letter. It's that's really mysterious. So it's Scrooge time again, who's rolling up a Scrooge mansion. But there's some horsies outside of his crib. And there's an inscription that says Purgatory. So he puts a blanket on the horse. And that's actually quite nice because, animals are pretty cool. And then that light explodes for reasons. So he goes to his house door and that doorknob is totally Marley. Wait, no, it's now a lion, so obviously crisis diverted. Into the Scrooge crib, and he's looking out the window still being totally spooked by those horses. So he goes to lock the doors, and then there's this knocking sound coming from within, and he's totally shook about that. And look, there's a shadow. So better go investigate it, and it's Marley, who says, I know this sounds a bit mental, but if you stop being a dick for 5 damn minutes, I can rest in peace. But Scrooge doesn't believe a damn word he says. It says, screw you, I'm going to bed. So through the door he goes, and oh my god, it's a change of scenery. But this is a factory fire in Birmingham, where people are totally dying. And there's a woman worker saying like, it's all Scrooge's fault for skimming on all those health and safety regulations because he runs an investment firm and has that sort of power, remember? And now Scrooge is totally crapping himself. And Marley tells him, look at this ducking chain, because it represents all those factories and mines that blew up or burnt down because of their firm. And that they need to be a really ethical business, and then put hashtag be kind in their Twitter bio because it's now sounding like a political message by a bunch of commies at the BBC. Anyway, Marley tells Scrooge he's going to be visited by ghosts tonight, so he better pucker up his butthole with lube because he's fucked. Let's go to the storyline that no one cares about. It's the Crapshits, and Bob is asking Mrs. Crapshit, are you looking forward to Christmas? And she says yes, but Bob knows she's full of crap and then asks what's actually going on. But she won't answer. It's like, that's really interesting. And I mean like, wow, that's so emotional. I've got so many emotions right now, I might go off and cry. So it's back to Scrooge, who's getting shook by open windows. But wait, there's a bell ringing. And hey, it's a mouse making all that noise. So he picks it up gently and is proper happy. Because it turns out that mouse was the same mouse he had when he was a child. And he's like, that's really cool. But wait a minute, it's a ghost. And then yeets it out of a window. But jokes on that dum-dum head though, because here's his dead dad. He's like, that's totally scared Scrooge. So he's like now hiding from him. But he starts to speak out loud. And like for reasons. And that totally alerts the ghost because like the best thing you can do when you hide is make noise. Come on guys, it doesn't take a genius to work that one out. So they now have a big old conversation, and Daddy is totally angry at Scrooge because that mouse was another like mouth to feed in their house when they were younger, and like for some reason that's the only thing you could really be angry about. So he totally kills it. But that dead Daddy was actually Angry Santa this entire time, who says, you Scrooge are a total dildo, and I'm going to show you how much of an Ebenezer turd you've been. So let's go to a snowball fight in the past, where Scrooge is now trying to rationalise this whole thing by blaming it on alcohol. But hold on, he starts to remember all those kids knocking around, like, because they were from his childhood. And Angry Santa says, I'm showing you the things from your past, because obviously you've done some bad things in your past. And then totally turns himself into an Arab or an Indian, I'm not too sure which one, because Scrooge used to read books about him in his childhood. So on to camels they go, because let's all associate Arabs with camels. And he's going to his old boarding school, where like all the kids have gone home because it's Christmas, but Scrooge had to stay there because, well, for reasons. And look everyone, it's Mini Scrooge who's reading a book. But look out! Here's the headmaster, and oh my god, it actually turns out that the headmaster is a nonce trying to get Scrooge to come to bed with him. And I don't actually remember that part in the Muppets Christmas Carol, but, whatever. But wait a minute, someone else has just turned up outside. And oh my god, it's his sister who's saving him from the Disney park predators. And well, that was actually really lucky. And like, it turns out that the father has just left the family back home, and now his mum wants him, obviously, to return. And like, Nonce Man is not happy about that and says, no, you can't do that, he's my fresh meat. So they start fighting and shut that front door. That 12-year-old girl is actually really stunning and brave because she's like really virtuous and has a gun, saying, you won't ever nonce my brother again. Scrooge is now figuring out that that moment right there was the root of all of his troubles, so he's completely cured and it's all job done, we can go home. But Angry Santa is like, no, you haven't seen the worst of it yet. And hey, we've just been transported to a coal mine in Wales, where people are digging big time. And it turns out that Scrooge was like really invested in cost cutting, and he cheaped out on those beams, and that caused a giant cave-in and loads of people died, and that sucked. So let's go to a fabric manufacturing mill house, and here's past Scrooge saying to this guy, your dead dad is an idiot and he totally spunked all of his money on gambling. But they can help him by buying the entire mill. But after buying that mill, they sold all the machines in there. And that meant all those workers are now totally unemployed. And they used that space to print money. And it's like, that's so evil. Oh, you damn capitalists and your money-making machines. And well. Now that Ghost of Christmas Past is showing him his Twitch stream highlights. And there's his ex-girlfriend. And there's the children they never had. It's like, big sad. And that was really interesting. So we're going to go check in with Mrs. Crapshit giving birth. Which obviously, it's Tiny Tim. But he was born all wrongly. And for him to survive, they need the money for an operation. So, are they going to ask that American guy? Oh, no. Let's go to Scrooge's work crib. And somebody's at the door. And oh my God, it's Mrs. Crapshit because, oh no. And she's asking for a loan of 30 whole pounds for a surgery that a doctor can do. But Scrooge is like, you people can't afford it. And by the way, I have like 500 squid like in that safe over there. Is if you want the money, what would you do for it? But she doesn't answer. So he says like, you know what? There's 30 squid on that table right there. You take 10 and then you come by my house at 4 p.m. on Christmas Day and you'll totally get the rest. But you've got a little bit of a catch and you'll find that one out later. So she does. And oh my God, he just wanted her to clean the lime scale off the taps this entire time. Wait a minute. No, he doesn't. He wants to make her his Christmas fleshlight. And this is exactly what Dickens wanted the entire time. And now she's getting nude. But actually, it turns out that this whole thing was a test of her commitment and of her needs to get the money. So he says like, just get dressed again, take the money and get out of here, you damn dirty bastard. And it's like, that was actually really quite insulting to Dickens' work. You know what? It doesn't matter because we're back with Angry Santa and Scrooge is justifying it by saying, if I didn't do that, then Tiny Tim would have totally died to death. Even though he could have just loaned her the money to begin with. But, Angry Santa ain't having any of that and says, you know what? You haven't learned a damn thing, and then totally rage quits. Now Scrooge is at a mirror asking himself, why did I take that role in Prometheus where I dressed up as an 80-year-old man? I mean, that's a bit silly, isn't it? But look out! There's the ghost of the presents! But it's his older sister, and she's totally deaded. So it's like, that's a really mysterious right there. She takes him to the crapshits who are making Christmas presents because they're too poor to buy new ones. And hey, there's Tiny Tim. And now his stunning sister is telling like Scrooge, they really love each other. It doesn't matter about the presents. And it's like really heartwarming. And I'm going to go throw up. But that actually hit Scrooge right in the feels. And he's totally sad about it. It's now the morning and they're all eating dinner. And then Mrs. Crapshit says, Sim King Bob, can we go outside? I've got something to tell you. So he's like, yeah, cool, we'll go outside. And they do. And then she's like totally going to admit to Bob that she like almost whored herself out to Scrooge. But she bottles it at the last minute and then tells him actually what she did was she totally stole some diamonds off an old lady. So basically what was the point in this scene? She never confessed anything. And she doesn't in the entire film. What the hell was the point? Anyway, we're back in the crap room and Bob has an announcement. And he's decided that in the morning, he's going to quit his job. And big reveal. So the Scrooges go like, right, it's time to leave. And they go to a church where people are singing in remembrance of some dead people. That was the fault of Scrooge. And Stunning Dead Sister asks, what do you see in their faces? And he's like, I don't know. And it's like, you're so stupid. They're united with like love and everything like that. And it's like, that prompts Scrooge to say if he went back into the olden times, he totally wouldn't have skimped on those beams that collapsed that mine. And he's now all sad. So outside they go, where he's saying like, oh my God, I'm so regretful of the things I've done. It's like, oh no. And she goes, look, my time's up. So, you're on the last ghost now. So get back into church. Don't be a dick because that guy's really mean. So back into the church he goes. But it's all decayed now. And oh my God, there it is. It's the future ghost. And it's really mean. And then teleports him to the future where Bob Cratchit is handing in his resignation. So that future's literally 2 days later. And that letter, it's telling Scrooge that he's a massive dick because we haven't obviously already got that by now. But, oh no, there's been an accident. It's Tiny Tim. And he's fallen through the ice when he was ice skating. And then somehow that's all Scrooge's fault and he needs to feel guilty about it. He's shook again and he's saying, oh my sweet baby Jesus, I'm such a dick, I can change, please give me the chance to change. Now that ghost is showing himself totally dead on a bed and he's noticing that there are no mourners around there. So let's flash forward again where that chap from the opening scene is also peeing on his grave. And look, there's Tinny Tim. He got deleted too. And oh, this is so sad. So he asked the ghost man, what's the purpose of all this? And then suddenly Marty appears and he's like, the whole purpose is redemption, you dumbass. But Scroogey boy, he refuses any kind of redemption arc because he's going full emo, saying he doesn't deserve it and that he's been a massive dildo all his life. And then says that all he wants is for Tiny Tim to be spared death. And look, that actually worked. He's now got a heart of gold and there's no more deaded Tinny boy. So he runs across the street and then immediately falls over because ha 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 ha. And then conveniently placed old lady says, are you alright? And he's like, yeah, I'm absolutely fine. I'm great. And I can totally feel emotions. It's like, oh no, you can feel emotions again. And then straight up steals her bag because obviously he never learned a single lesson. And it turns out that that bag is rock salt. So he spreads it across the lake to obviously melt the ice to stop Tiny Tim skating on it because obviously that's how he died. And look, where is he going now? It's to the crap shit. And he says, I know you want to quit, Bob. And to be honest, good luck because I'm shutting down my business. So there's no more business at all. And also I'm giving you 500 whole pounds. And then starts to leave. But Mrs. Crapshit says, you know what? Thank you for the money, but I'm never going to forgive you, you utter dick. And that's it. Show finished. So let's do final conclusions. Why did he decide to close down his business at the end? He could have actually carried on. He could have worked to improve safety conditions and lead the way for safer working conditions. I mean, you can't change the game if you're not in it. So he could have worked to literally improve people's lives. Because all he's actually done is left a whole lot of people unemployed while also allowing other predatory companies to do the exact same thing he was doing. Ugh. Why did they wait until the final quarter of this show to actually have the ghosts? I mean, they each had about, I would say about 15 minutes each, when this entire thing is 3 hours long. And what was the whole plot line about Prozzy crap shit about? I mean, it never even got resolved. She was going to tell Bob, and then she didn't tell Bob, and at the end he just gets away with it. I mean, what was the point? And then speaking of her, I'm going to be level with you, she was a bad actress. And also, earlier on, were these printed backgrounds? Because they really look fake. And okay, right, that's a few negatives. So let's do something positive. Well, okay, right. It was well acted by the majority of the cast, and the dialogue was actually okay. So, you know what? Merry Christmas, everyone.
Subscribe button.